Hey everybody, this is Patrick again, and today we have Joy Jamerson from HCAP, who's going to take us through her perspective of how to make apprenticeship simpler. But before we do that, Joy, can you give a quick introduction on yourself and a little bit about HCAP?
Of course. Well, I'm Joy Jamerson. I am one of the program managers here at HCAP, which is the Healthcare Career Advancement Program. We are a national labor management organization that promotes innovation and quality in healthcare career education. And then we're also a DOL National Registered Apprenticeship Intermediary and Apprenticeship Ambassador. So we have been, I like to call us the lead industry intermediary in healthcare, the premier one.
Love it, love it. Well, Joy, I think you're our first industry intermediary to have on board, so no pressure or anything. But
No question.
the question I ask everybody, because I think we're all invested in seeing the apprenticeship system get better, we want to know how to do so. So,
Mhm.
the question for you is, from your perspective, how do we make apprenticeship simpler?
Um, Making the process a little bit more simpler to employers. Like they're already dealing with workforce shortages. So dealing with all of the paperwork that they have to complete to get a program approved, whether it be in the OA state or an SAA state, it needs to be simpler. Some employers just don't have the bandwidth to do it. Some of them don't have the staff to do it, and they lean on when they find out about industry intermediaries, they are in love with us, that we help them through that process. But what if, we went away and there was no more industry intermediaries? How will we be able to continue to move the registered apprenticeship work forward? And it's just making that process a little bit simpler for the employers and then making it understandable to employers as well. Like registered apprenticeship in general needs to be a little bit simpler for our employers to understand. Like there is a lot of information you can put in registered apprenticeships in Google, and it'll give you a million pages on apprenticeships, but none of them actually speaks the employer language. So what is the ask that we're asking the employer to do? And what are we wanting them to do and why we're wanting them to implement a registered apprenticeship program. So making the process a little simpler, like the paperwork process, and then making the information simpler for employers to actually understand the model.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, I think these certainly things that we see across the board, right? If we can make it easier to
Mhm.
start, we have more apprenticeships. We can make it easier so you don't have to learn a whole new language. Makes it easier to get people in
Mhm.
the front door. So, if I gave you a magic wand, how would you tackle making it easier to start? How would you tackle making it easier to speak the employer language?
One, I will always have funding available for registered apprenticeships so they can continue to fund industry intermediaries. Um, I don't think like investing in different softwares, they have standards builder, which is great. But some states still use the standardized paperwork, like the paper that we have to complete. So making all of that electronic and then it's just hit enter and it's submitted and then it goes to the prospective person that it needs to go to for like approval. And then making it simpler is actually talking to the employers. That's what we don't do a lot is like talking to the employers. Like we have to, anytime HCAP talks to an employer or talks to someone that's not an employer that wants to do a registered apprenticeship, we tell them we need the employer at the table. We cannot build this program without that stakeholder at the table, which is the employer. Like that's great if Joy's foundation, and I don't have a foundation, but if I had one, I wanted to do a registered apprenticeship program, right? And I just go and build a medical assistant program. Employer A, B, or C may not need medical assistance. So making sure that that employer is at the table and hearing what their needs are. Like right now, we're seeing an uptick in more licensed occupations in the healthcare industry. So with more license, that's more higher wage occupations and positions that's becoming available and they're wanting to build apprenticeships around. So just making sure that we're hearing what the employer is saying and then developing those documents that help them speak that language to the employer. So if they do Google and don't talk to an industry intermediary or DOL, it's simpler for them to understand what the ask is. I tell people all the time, apprenticeships is not that hard. We make it hard for them to understand. So we just making it simple for them to understand will just be like a piece of cake. I'll go in right now and actually, Patrick, go and talk to the employer that someone has been talking to for maybe a year or 2 years. And the minute I start speaking and I tell them the same thing somebody else said, but I'm speaking their language, the PowerPoint is
Yep.
to it's forced to like it's facing them, then they understand it. It clicks. So I asked the person or the organization, what were you saying that I said different? They were like, Joe, we said the same information. It's probably your approach. And my approach is always making sure that we are building content that speaks to our audiences. And that's what I don't see a lot of in this space.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree. And I often find that employers are doing something like apprenticeship already, convincing them that, and hey, all we're going to do is fit it into a template that works
Mhm.
rather than here's the apprenticeship template and you feel like you're starting from scratch and learning everything anew. I think
Mhm.
that, and hey, we get to some day where you can choose your apprenticeship like you order a McDonald's order on that
Mhm.
screen, and then we're off to the races. Hope
Yeah.
you don't mind my just taking that and running with
No,
your
not
idea
at
there.
all. And I would even comment on like every apprenticeship is different. So if I build a RN apprenticeship program down in Florida, the same program is not going to look the same in Texas or in Louisiana. So it's not a one size fit all. It's a one size fit that employer, and that model fits this employer. We're doing the same thing, but we're fixing the model so it can be fit for that employer. And then, like you said, most employers are already doing some type of training because they need employees. They're really struggling. So I've talked to many employers and they're like, Joe, we're doing something like this already. Why should we do a registered apprenticeship program? And then it makes me say, why should they do it? And then it just dawns on me, look at the benefits. You're splitting the bill, like you're paying for everything. There's funding, even though I don't like to lead with funding, but there's funding out here. There's other opportunities out here, like recruitment resources, workforce development, HCAP. We're all here to help you. You're not going to be in it by yourself. So these are the reasons why you should build it. You're probably just doing your incumbent workers, but this can bring in external workers or vice versa. So we always say, I like to use the term that one of my good friends used. It's like it's a reverse recruitment tool. So we're recruiting, we're helping the school, and the school is helping us help the employer get a better skilled workforce. So yeah.
Nailed it. Well, Joy, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on, letting your
No
perspective,
problem.
tons of
Anytime.
experience, and it's great to have you. Thanks
Thank you
again.
so much. Have a good one.